Good afternoon, everybody, and it's really an honor and privilege to meet all of you here in the most prestigious college of this part of the country. This is my second time coming here, and I am always thrilled to meet the young students. I go and talk in different setups, industry conferences and all, but most of my talks are actually for students, not college students, but primarily engineering college and universities, so on and so forth. Because I personally believe that it's you who get more out of the experiences people like us come and share. And I hope today what we will talk here perhaps will give you some food for thought. And I'm not going to talk or give, discuss about corporate jargon a lot. I'll share something which I believe is very, very important to our society today, especially people like you. And normally we don't discuss this. And all this is coming from my experience working in 3 companies, and I'm privileged to work for 3 companies. All of them are Centurion companies, and a lot of reflection comes from there. Thousands and thousands of young students join these companies every year, and then I get an opportunity to talk. And today I will talk to you about celebrating failure. Not something we talk in educational institutions, not even in corporate. We celebrate success. But let's today, for a while, for the next 1 hour or so, prepare our mind to celebrate failure. I watched people playing soccer over there, so you have some soccer enthusiasts among you. One of the best coaches was ever produced, Johan Cruyff in Netherlands. He said one thing, that when he looks at players, he tries to find a good footballer, what he does without the ball. Normally we try to see, okay, what kind of skills you have, how do you play, how do you pass the ball, how do you shot at goal. Because he said statistically it has been proven that in a 90-minute soccer game, on an average, a player has ball on his feet for no longer 3 minutes. So if you want to win the game, you would like to select players on your side who does better in the remaining 87 minutes as well. It's something to think about, right? Because when you are playing 90-minute soccer game, you have 3 minutes with ball on your feet. Similarly, we always talk about success, and at least I know from my personal life that majority of the time it's filled with failures and not success. Okay? So let's talk about this success and failure, and I'll give you some anecdotes from my own experience, and we'll see during the Q&A, and I'll be happy to take any question, not on topic, but outside. If you want to know about corporate or anything about, which is of your interest, I'll be happy to talk about it. So let's talk about celebrating failure for a while. So do I remember those days when I used to come back from my school in a long, slow walk with my head hanging low, with a poor result? Do I remember those days that when I threw away that rejection letter I got from a great prestigious university abroad, so that people don't know about it. Do I remember those days when I came home after losing a very well-deserved promotion I thought I would get? We all have those kind of situations in our life, but we don't want to talk about it. And I'll come to that, why it is important to talk about it. You know, the story is in 2008, when the world experienced one of its worst financial meltdown in Wall Street. A lot of people lost their jobs. And later on, after 10, 11 years, some business school studied those candidates, and they figured out that most of them never told their families that they lost job. Every morning they used to wake up and get dressed and leave, maybe going to some coffee shop, using the Wi-Fi to put their CV online and apply for job. Some of them went from office to office, from morning till evening, till they got a job. But till they got it, they never told it to the people. Why is this? This is because we all believe that failure is a social dishonor. It's a humiliation, it's a shame. And when I look at my life, some of you and some of my friends believe that it's fairly successful life. I know for sure that majority of my life was not about being successful. Like the top of the iceberg, whoever you look at, in the corporate or any other world, like top of the iceberg, you just see the success. The world look at people, corporate title, your educational scores, the cars they drive, the houses they live, and you know, all those things becomes more important. Nowadays there is another thing got added to it. How you are living your life in social media. In my mind, Facebook is the most depressing thing happened to humankind. Nobody puts on social media their bad days. If you are going to Chinsura or Howrah for some reason, you won't put it on your social media. Only when you visit a good place. When you are eating normal daily food, you don't put it on social media. When you go to a restaurant or a 5-star hotel, and then you put that, right? So people who start looking at those, they believe that this person is absolutely the happiest guy because he is doing or she is doing the coolest thing possible. So social media is the other reason where we try to avoid humiliation. We never try to be vulnerable as we should be. But as I said, if you separate the success and failure in our lives, anybody, I can guarantee you that you will see that major part of their life is about failure and then some part is about success. But it's heartbreaking. You know, it could be in my childhood, parents could not buy me a bicycle in my teens. Okay? To today, missing out a good raise in my organization. I expected that I'll get 10%, but I got 5%. Right? It could be anything. But life is more full of rejection. So let's start by saying, let's accept that life is not fair. I thought coming here will put some picture which will make you more interested about the topic. So life is not fair. So every day is about several setbacks, long period of struggles to reach that tiny piece of success. All of us go through, right? You study for 2 years, you struggle 2 years, you really put 100%, you work hard for that one day when your result will come out. And as if that is what is going to make everything happen in your life. So for that tiny piece of success, you put so much of effort. Yet in our life, our education, careers, we are only taught about winning and being successful. So every time you talk to somebody, your coach, your teacher, your parents, all they will teach you and then try to pursue you that you will have to be successful. Because of what? No college syllabus or school syllabus talks about failure. Because it comes with stigma. But it doesn't have to be like that. I recall one thing, and then I was sharing with my school friends some time back, that only time I was taught failures are the pillars of success when they used to give me an essay in my English class. The moment that essay writing is over, none of the teacher talked about failure. Nobody discussed it. None of the students. But we all know that it is important because that's why the essay comes every time. And I may be wrong, is Smith College in Massachusetts, US. They actually trying to putting failure back on the syllabus. And I got passionate about it, so I talked to a lot of educational institute. I tell them that let's try to do this. They actually created a course or paper called Failing Well. And I'll quote: exams, extracurricular activity, or any other choices associated with the college and still be a totally worthy, utterly excellent human. So there is a course for this, right? So it can be taught how to handle failure. I think the question is if we can come out of the stigma. And in fact, a vast majority of the students of that college, they have that as a poster in their room. It reminds them that it's okay to fail. Right? Because why it is, even you fail, you are still an excellent human. Lionel Messi, the other soccer player, in his country he was kind of taunted of the fact that he could not give his country World Cup. Let's see if he can this year or not. He was not very successful in his career as Argentinian footballer. Not very successful in terms of the skill or the talent he has. Right? Now let's look at some shocking data. World Health Organization, or WHO, reported that over 800,000 people every year die by committing suicide. 1 person every 40 seconds. And you know what? This number is double the number than homicide. People get killed for some other reason. It is the leading cause of death in young people. But not necessarily it means the suicide is more likely in young people, because if you look at statistically what happens, older people die because of other reasons, right? Disease and other things. But suicide has become a leading cause for death in our society as well. If we look at the data of NCRB, annual suicide rate by students in India turned out to be highest in a decade, over 10,000. So if you look at our population, which is huge, still in that standard, 34 students kill themselves by committing suicide in every 24 hours. So it means more than one every hour. And if we look at people under the age of 34, it's 64,114 people under 30 years actually. And this is the data of NCRB, which got published just a couple of weeks back. And this is the data about 2020. And the Lancet, the other agency's report says that nearly 37% suicide doesn't get reported. It means out of 100, every 63 are not getting reported. And what happened to these students, or what happened to these young individuals? They are victim of a system that has not taught us to handle setbacks in our life. As a nation, as a society, we are unforgiving about failure. Now I was talking to your father about the initiative the college is taking in terms of creating startups. And I was telling him that this is one of the reasons why in India we don't have enough patents and enough startups. If you look at our population vis-a-vis what we have, things are changing with the economic revolution taking place in our country over the last couple of decades, but still it is nothing. So if you look at why we have performed so miserably when it comes to innovation as well. So let's examine crucial data to underscore how we are failing in terms of innovation. So just look at number of patents, and I'm here, I heard from your professor that you are being encouraged to create patents, some of you who are working towards that, okay? But India as a country, even today, though we call ourselves as the IT superpower in the world, we are nobody when it comes to filing patents. So globally, if over 600,000 patent applications were filed over the last 1 year, US puts half of it, right? And then twice that number is being put by China, where in India, out of those 600,000, not even 50,000 comes out of India. We have such a vast population. Patent grant, one is filing patent, one is getting the patent granted, is less than 12,000. In a country of almost 1.37 billion people. And this report was published in Economic Times some time back. 𝐾𝐦𝐢𝐭𝐚𝐛𝐡, one of the renowned professor from Harvard Business School, once said, and I quote him, that in any natural system, failure is the engine that causes growth, new birth, and it causes anything to happen. One of the big difference between success successful countries and not so successful countries is the acceptance tolerance towards failure, and it has been scientifically proven. As a society, if we are non-tolerant or unforgiving about our failures, I think we will not make the progress we want to be. And this is not in our education system, we see it in our larger system as well. Most of us think that, okay, we will take a job which our seniors took. I will tell you, and this is not to scare you but to prepare you. And you can take a note of this. I can guarantee what you are thinking of doing 10 years down the line, that will not exist. And I'll repeat this. Whatever you are thinking that you will be doing 10 years down the line will not exist. So, think about it. And this is because of the pace of change. In next 20 years, which will be very crucial for your life, we will see as a society changes which equivalent to the changes took place in last 200 years. It's primarily driven by technology. Now when I stand here and talk this with the students, not all of them agree, and I don't want you to agree, because you are not designed to think exponentially. I'll give you one example. It's about human brain. Now what happened with invention of computer or invention of superior technology? The person who invented or created Intel Corporation, the chip makers for majority of the computers you see, Gordon Moore, he came up with a theory. And his theory was, even today, we read it in our engineering colleges, it's called Moore's Law, Gordon Moore. So Moore's Law, he said, and some 35 years back, it's not today, that every 18 months, technology will gather double its speed and processing capacity, means the intelligence. And the cost of that will become half. And when he said this, people thought about it and then they said, they rejected mostly, that it cannot happen, that can it continuously be happening? And over the last 10 years, I am in many science and technology conferences, and we are saying and talking to scientists, and they say, okay, we are going to hit a physical boundary, like in a nano chip, how many transistors can be packed. So let's not get into, I'll be happy to share that, but let's not get into the technical part of it. It's basically how much transistor you can put in a one wafer. That's what Gordon Moore meant when he said that, okay, it will be double. So the technology and which is driving our life, we all agree, is going to give us twice the intelligence or the processing capacity per microprocessor every 18 months, which is 1.5 years, and the cost will be low, so we can utilize that. And you all know that, right? One cell phone used to cost, when it came to India, huge. Per call, I recall, per minute was 2 rupees 80 paisa. And you can think about it. You live in a generation which assumes the data is free. So the Moore's Law said that technology will grow exponentially. And we will not. Because human brains are not wired to think exponentially. And therefore all this discussion happens, right? In newspapers sometimes you see people say, is the computer is going to take over, is the artificial intelligence is going to lead us? The answer is absolutely yes. When we say all these things, it's very difficult for us to understand because we as human beings are not thinking exponentially. When I said that whatever you want to do today, the job will not be there 10 years down the line. And again, I'm saying guarantee, I can guarantee this. 65% of job will be 7 years down the line, 65% they are not invented yet. Have you perhaps did ask somebody that 10 years back anybody heard that YouTuber could be a viable work, that somebody can live their life being a YouTuber, drone operator, machine learning expert? No, this job never existed. Today, they are some of the most important jobs. If you think of first 5 YouTubers today, and I can share the story of Ryan, 7-year-old kid, lives in San Diego. Ryan's earning is $27 million last year. All he does, he plays with the toys and breaks it, and they're a Hispanic family, immigrant family in the US coming from Mexico, and his mother uploads those videos into YouTube. $27 million I will not earn in my lifetime. 7-year-old Ryan, Google it, earn in a year. It was not there. Somebody 10 years back, if I was here and another batch of Xavierians sitting in front of me said that there will be different jobs. How many jobs were? Do you know that in last 10, 11 years or maybe 11 and a half years, WhatsApp was not there, Android was not there, Instagram was not there, Uber was not there, which has become part of your life pretty much today. It never used to exist. So that's a different presentation. Maybe another day, another time, we'll talk about it. Like what was not there 10 years back, and it's unbelievable amount of things changed. So what I said, again I underscore, next 10 years or 20 years, we'll see the changes happen in our planet for 200 years. It used to take 45 years to double the knowledge in our society. It happens in about 12 hours these days. Again, these are all statistics, forget about it. But it's difficult. I wrote some time back a story about this in LinkedIn, and half the guys said, hey, what are you saying? Knowledge, human knowledge is doubling every 8 hours, 12 hours? I said, yes, it's statistically there. How much petabytes of information we are generating today? Unbelievable. But why? It's not their fault. Because, again, technology works in exponential manner, whereas human brains think in sequential manner. Not your fault. And I'll stop this topic by giving you a small example. Now this is a good amount, it's a large hall, right? Now if I ask somebody that go from this end to that end of the hall and come back and tell me how many steps you need to cross it. Maybe some 300 meters. Somebody will say, well, I needed 40 steps. So I said, try hard, try again. And maybe somebody will be athletic enough who will come back and report, I take 30 steps from this side to that side of the hall. Okay? 30 steps. Good. That's sequential way of thinking and doing things. Now tell you, let's change the game. And this time, you'll be allowed to take the next step as the double of previous step. So 300 meters or 30 meters, 30 steps. So your first step will be 1 meter. You'll be able to take the second step, 2 meters. Third one will be double of that, 4 meters. Fourth one, 8 meters. Fifth one, 16 meters. Sixth one, 32 meters. You still have those 30 steps, and you come back and tell me how far you can go. And I want you to think. You don't need to answer. This is not an exam, but I want you to think. 30 steps, exponential step. Because technology is growing in an exponential manner. Every 16 months or 18 months, it is increasing its speed, its processing capacity, twice, double. Therefore, I gave that example. Now, can you tell me in 30 exponential step, where the second step is double than the previous one, how far you can go? It's a good, interesting puzzle, you know. You Google it and again you will find it because you are Google generation. 26 times or 28 times, if I am not forgotten, across the earth surface. Same 30 steps. It's same distance between here and the moon. With 30 steps you can travel, if it's exponential. Have you ever thought anything close to this? As you know, right? Because, not again your fault, we are not wired to think in exponential manner. Our brain doesn't work. So when I stand in front of students, I say, whatever you are thinking of doing 10 years down the line, I can guarantee you that will not be there. You will say, oh, okay. Good spending Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon. We don't believe you. You don't need to believe me. But I'm just saying, prepare yourself. And this is not to scare you. Because things are driven, changes in our life and society is driven by technology, which is moving in an exponential manner. So one day this discussion was happening with my friends. They say, oh, you think really computers or technology can drive us, become more intelligent than us? I said, of course, yes. So think about it today. Maybe, I don't know when, maybe 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line. It will happen. Or maybe 10 years down the line, 15, forget about the number of years. So today, the computer technology is in this level. And our knowledge is at this level. We are far superior, right? But what happens in 1.5 year time? He will come from here to here, I am still here. Then another 16 months, he will come here and I am still here. We'll reach, and again scientists, they have different opinion about it, that when we'll reach, somebody says by 2030, somebody says 2032, 2033, not very far, a stage where a system will be as intelligent as human being. And some of you have heard perhaps that terminology called singularity. What is singularity? When technology can think or become as smart as we are. But what is scary part is, think about 1.5 years down the line of that time, what happens? The damn technology is twice intelligent than we are. And think about another 1.5 years, so 3 years down the line, they are 200% smarter than us. So the question is it going to happen? Of course it's going to happen. How we deal with it, we don't know, we'll figure it out. Because when things change so fast, we don't know how do we handle things. We need to figure it out. So today, we are facing an unprecedented amount of chaos. Fourth industrial revolution is driving change. By the way, what I was saying so far, I'll underscore with the example of fourth industrial revolution. First one to second one took 100 years. Second one to third one took 98 years. Third to fourth took 50 years. And the fourth to fifth will take less than 20 years. And what that would be, again, I don't know. I don't have the answer. But I think these are the questions to have in our mind. So we are facing one of the toughest economical challenges, impacting our employment, our careers, and businesses. Fourth industrial revolution is also causing that. You are aware from your seniors, you read in the newspaper, jobs are getting disrupted, automation is coming, taking away people's job, new jobs are being created, right? So all these things happening because of what? Technology is driving changes faster than we can adopt. And we know every time the change came, the good story is that it actually helped us as a society. We progressed. But the bad part of it is, bad news is, it caused us tremendous pain before it gave us the gain. So there we are in that influx. We are in that situation where we are going through that pain. Again, coming back to this topic, maybe from technology a bit. We glamorize failure stories. We all know what happened to Steve Jobs, right? He was thrown out of his company as a failure, and then he come back and he's the greatest success with Apple. We heard of Amazon entrepreneur Jeff Bezos. He was rejected in an interview by IBM, my old company, and now he can actually buy that company. Right? Even my namesake, Amitabh Bachchan, 12 consecutive flops before he had his first hit movie, 𝐀𝐦𝐢𝐭𝐚𝐛𝐡 𝑑𝐚𝐲. We all know that story. We almost worship him, people who love Hindi movies. We all know about how he could get with KBC, 𝐾𝐦𝐢𝐭𝐵𝑒𝑔𝐴 crorepati. At that time when he started KBC, he was bankrupt as an individual. So, ex-CEO of Coca-Cola once said, if we are not failing, then we are not trying hard enough. I wish my mother was alive and I knew this quote during my school days and I could have repeated it in front of her. Because I actually once failed in one subject and I still remember what I got in my bag. So she was cooking and whatever in her hand she just threw it. But it's true in business. We talk about startups. The only mantra there is you fail fast. Because they accept that there will be failure. So who will be successful? Who can fail faster? And then a lot of concept around that, design, thinking and all. We'll not get into those. It's easy to understand this concept that okay, if you're not failing enough, you're not trying hard enough. It's very easy to understand, but very hard to put in practice. Right? The only way to do it is that we start from our school. And this is where I think, and this is what I have been preaching for the last 3 years with a lot of educational institutions, that we need to start from school to teach our kids how to handle failure. Because I can again tell you that your life will be more complicated than mine. Your kids' life will be way more complicated than yours, and there will be more failures, more changes, more disruptions. So the only way to do it, to teach our parents, to teach the children how to handle failures, teach our teachers to teach students how to handle failures and prepare them to understand, appreciate and build on the failure. All the success stories we talk about, they are built upon their own failures. So we need to celebrate failures at times as much as we honor success. It's okay to fail. If one thing you want to take from this talk, I would say, is this sentence: it's okay to fail. Now this is one of my hypotheses, that how can you stop failure? And I personally practiced it over many years. You can try. I believe that failure happens when we chase success. I've written a small book called Second 𝐿𝐻𝑖𝐻𝑒, and I kind of dedicated some part of it talking about this. That in my life I never chased success. I never tried to achieve anything. But here I am, coming and talking, and few hundred people listening. Because of a simple reason. What is the opposite of success? It's failure, right? So even if you don't try to be successful, there's no way you can fail. I think that's one way of looking at life. So my lesson is, because of so much pressure on us to become successful as students or as entrepreneurs or corporate executives, it raises expectation. And when most of those are not fulfilled, then we call it failure. Now, for a moment, if you step back and say, okay, that if the outcome of our effort is not measured by success or failure, then what happens? Then we will be more adaptive to changes happening all around us. If you think the outcome of your studies is creating value, then what happens? Lot of equation change. Of course, it's easy for me to stand here and say this. It's very difficult for you to go back home and convince father and mother. I know that. But at least when you grow up more, you keep that in mind. So we have a better society than we have today. Value creation, right? A lot of companies talk about it. Value creation. The difference between success and failure and value creation is, this is point in time success, and value creation is a continuous process. So you think that what I'm studying today, I'm adding value to myself. I'm learning something new. Not because I have to pass the exam. I think that will take some pressure away. Again, I know it's easier said than done because of the societal pressure. But something as a society we need to think. Otherwise we'll not be able to address those situations I talked about before. So value creation, when companies also talk about, it's interesting because there is no concept of failure in value creation. I am making myself better. That will be a success in my life. But it's an elusive goal. It's something like you're playing soccer game again, coming to football because I just watched it happening outside. That the goalpost changes every now and then. So value creation gives me immense pleasure, a great sense of happiness and fulfillment, I guess. This is not measurable, and we tend to overlook it. That's why, we get distracted by discussions over success versus failure. Okay, that guy is a successful person, this guy is a failed person. No, we think, why I'm saying it's elusive goal, that success, happiness will come when we have financial stability. Again, if you think yourself, ask yourself this question, maybe, I don't know, 100% here will agree or not, but over 90% people will agree. At your age, everybody thinks that happiness will come when we have enough money. And how will we earn enough money? By working hard. The next promotion, winning the next big deal so that I get the bonus in my company. But these are all shifting goalposts. We as human beings, again, we are designed to never seem to have enough. So when I started my career, it could be an apartment in a nice community. Change to driving that, very expensive car. Change to having a career when I have a CX4 title. Change by my kids will perhaps go to Ivy League schools to learn business management. There is no end of thing, right? You cannot stop attaching things which will make you believe that you are successful. How elusive that can be. Yet we are constantly chasing the wrong goal. When the time slips by, again, this might sound a little philosophical, but that's what happens. But then what do we do? One way of looking at it as well, one is we don't chase success. We try to put 100% or 120%, whatever makes you more motivated, in things you are doing today. I had my colleagues, they talk about, okay, next 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, they had their career plan. And they asked me that, okay, you became CEO of a company, and then what was your plan? I said, I never had any plan. My only objective was, I will do my best, given an opportunity, and rest will fall in place. Success should be a default outcome. It should not be a goal. Your goal should be doing a good job of what you are doing. If you're a student, you're studying. If I'm a worker in a factory, I'm producing enough that I can. Because what happens? Again, it's an elusive goal. As I said, that it changes goalposts. My children think that, and this is coming from lifestyle perspective, like a lot of expectation change, that a new smartphone or a broadband with unlimited data could be the good milestone to achieve in life. I used to think, okay, I'll get a football from my parent. And that's the change today. So our disappointments also increased as we become more successful, because we feel that we are entitled to succeed. Investment in our education, if you are going to higher school, investment in our education made us entitled to become successful. And there cannot be any other outcome. And then if you face a stumbling block, then you don't know what to handle, how to handle. You become depressed. That's why depression is increasing so much in our society. Right? We don't know how to handle this failure. And this I will share, my own experience. I have perhaps recruited few thousand people from IITs and tens of thousands of people from other engineering colleges or other colleges which are not at that par, IIT, IIM. Surprisingly, the ratio of people who are successful coming from those top-notch institutes are not much higher than others. And I have seen some use cases to talk about. Some of them are my friends. I've seen them not putting enough effort. People who are coming as challengers, who are putting more effort, then the sense of entitlement, if you are coming out to pass out of an IIT or an IIM, that well, I have arrived. I'm entitled to do good. It doesn't happen that way. Coming back to success and failure. We talked about this when happiness and not success is a goal. Keep happiness as a goal, that will be better. And we know all these stories. I shared some of them. The interesting part of Einstein, that he was unable to speak until 4 years old. And his teachers used to say that he is not going to do too much in his life. Huge failure, right? We can talk about Oprah Winfrey, we can talk about Walt Disney, we can talk about Steve Jobs, we can talk about the Beatles, Jack Ma. Jack Ma is one of the most successful entrepreneurs of our age, right? Can you believe that guy got rejected consecutive 30 interviews? Excuse me. 30 interviews he failed. And he realized that, okay, nobody is going to give him a job, so he started his own company. One of the most successful entrepreneur of this era. So we know that early failures leads to success. This is again linked with the startups, right? That they say fail fast. Okay, so most of the successful people, they fail early. And why that happens? What is the difference between successful and not so successful people? That because both fail. The successful people try to see a pattern in the failure and try to not go in that route anymore. Okay? And you know, there is a pragmatic set of people and dogmatic set of people. Like some people will try, no, I'll do this way, this is my way. And they continue failing. But the successful people, they think, okay, there's a pattern that this is what if you do, you fail. And the good example of that is why human being these days cannot beat a computer in chess. When I was a computer science student in early in my life, first chess game came and I used to beat that chess game. And then a lot happened, right? That the game, become much smarter. Deep Blue was invented by IBM, and then first time Deep Blue played against a grandmaster and won. I think it was Kasparov, and that became a history. And now today they can win hands down every time. Because of what? Because of the machine learning, right? So every time a computer gives a move in chess, and if it fails, it recalls that, it remembers that, okay, this move, I failed because of this move, so I'll not try that in the similar circumstance. So that's what it is. So early failures lead to success. If you fail in life, don't worry about it. And this is why it is important for us not to worry too much of failure. Do a best job, given what you are given. Success will become a byproduct of that. And you should look at that. What is a failure? Failure are basically simple near misses. You perhaps would have achieved in the next round. So tipping point between success and failure, falling over and over again, if you fail too many times and eventually reach your goal. Right? So you should start thinking success or failures as the near miss. I'll give you two examples who does it very well in our industry. Okay, venture funds or venture capitalists as we call, they do more analysis on failures in their company than their successes. Because they know when, who are venture capitalists, right? They fund startups. So they try to focus more when they put money and they fail, rather than in the companies they invested and they're successful. Because they don't want to commit that mistake. The other industry does it very well in a systematic manner. They are pharmaceutical industry. In pharmaceutical industry, it's very capital intensive activity, right? It's a high stake environment. The vast majority of the drug discovery project fails. We all know. So if they try 100, maybe 80 will fail, or 90 will fail, 10 will succeed. Okay? So they actually have failure as part of their, boardroom agenda. That why those things fail, so they don't fail going forward. So next, I will try to sum it up by saying, let's try to, focus on creating excellence in your life, corporate, whatever we do. Done by a university about this. They said they figured it out. Always the bronze medal winner is much more happier than silver medal winner. Because in life, what we think that what would have been the case, right? We always think what could have been. So the bronze winner, who is third, he always thinks that, well, the other option was, I was out of the medal, I lose. And the silver medal winner thinks, oh my God, I missed the gold. So it's a matter of how we think. So in many ways, our life is like bronze winners. The research shows this, that we need to be more happy based on what we got than what we have not, what might have been. Okay. So think it like that. That's how I will try to sum up. So happiness is a choice, and it's on us if we want to be happy, or we think that no, I have failed miserably. Even if we think that we have failed miserably, I will say, let's celebrate failure. That's how I started by saying that we need to celebrate failure more. And we need to institutionalize it to teach our kids, or our colleagues, or fellow students, or society as a whole, that how we deal with failure, because failures will come more in our life than success. So don't be too bogged down if you fail. Even if you fail, you are going to be a very worthy person. Thank you very much for your time. So I don't know how much time you will all have, but I'll be here and I'll be happy to take any question. What are your failures? There's a laundry list of things which will, I don't think we'll have enough time to discuss that. But as I said, 95%, over 95% is failure. Okay? And the way I looked at it, I just told myself, was I really interested in that? Something was pushed on me by my parents and all. So if I failed that, I was not too worried. Okay, I was just sad that it's a disappointment more for my parents than me, because I was not interested. But things I was interested, and still I am. If I fail, I try to learn from that. That's why I fail. And then you can do it. It's nothing rocket science. It's very easy. If you look at an exam, if you look at your relationship or anything, like, why you failed? If you do that, analyze the thing, introspect, you will get the answer. And next time, don't repeat that.
Sir,
give the mic to him. He can ask his question.
ask a specific point of time, what did you do that the biggest failure in your life, and after that, Sir, I wanted to ask that what was the biggest failure in your life and what did you do after that point of time when you felt that all the hope was lost and everything? That specific point of time.
No, the biggest failure I cannot say that, okay, that this is the biggest, because as I said that I was not chasing any target that this I have to achieve. But what I do is, I definitely never give up. Okay? I'll tell you, my last one was maybe a couple of years back, when I was almost losing my position because of an organizational restructuring. They were changing different divisions and putting different people. So at one point in time it came that, okay, this will be restructured in a way that then I don't have this job, or it would be very earth-shattering, right, for me. And I was a believer that this particular division should be kept the way it is, and I just told myself that, okay, the others are not getting the point, let me work hard to convince them, and then try to see, what are the values we as a company bring to the shareholders. And we have done it, and it's not me. I worked with the team, and my team helped me to get some good ideas. So we just worked hard, and then at one point in time they said, yes, I can see your point of view, and I'm convinced. So you can say that I saved my job in one way, so that is pretty big, right? And this happens every now and then in our corporate life. Thank you.
Hello. Sir, I think we have one question from the top, from the first row. This is the last.
Success will be an outcome of it. In my office, if I am the best performer, why somebody will not promote me and then another person? In office politics happens. Sometimes we get sidelined and things like that. But let's not talk about those things. But normally my objective is to do a very good job given the task, right? And then assume that things will take place. And then don't look at success as a target. As I said, you can look at it as a continuous learning process. It's a journey rather than a post. Because I was talking to that other lady, right? When you fix a time frame or fix some, milepost to it, you are basically trying to impose a finite game principle on life, which follows the infinite game theory. It's not going to work. You'll be disappointed and dejected, and this is what I'm trying to, and this is my learning for 40 years of my career, and this is what I want to share with all of you. That don't put those kind of stringent milestones, that I have to do that. But if you are studying, you say, okay, I'll do my level best to study. Only one person will become first in the class. So if everybody tries to become first, if that is your goal, then of course 99% people will be depressed. And because we don't teach these things, that the education, the knowledge, the relationship, the life, these are infinite games. There is no end of it. So don't try to impose a target and try to achieve it so hard that one day, you feel depressed. You can be very successful. You just learn from others who failed so many times. We get so many examples. All the most successful people, they have more failures in their life. So basically what they did, they learned from the previous failure and then try to fix it. Failure will happen, don't try to avoid it, embrace it. And then learn from that, move on. Hope that answers. Thank you. And thank you for being a most wonderful audience. Great questions, and I really enjoyed. I hope you will carry forward some thoughts, and I'll try to summarize it. That try to be flexible, and try to think about this finite game, infinite game theory, and try to think. Don't kill yourself by saying, okay, I have to get this job, that job, because things will change. As I said, when you'll be in job market, 65% of the job will be there for you. They are not invented yet. So you don't know what they will be. Right? So try to do a good job and be flexible and know that things will change much faster. Your life will be much difficult than ours as a generation. Because again, technology is driving things. Geopolitics, I didn't touch that. The current geopolitics is making things very difficult for us to live. Supply chain, is breaking out. And countries are having different difficulties. If you see on top of it, the climate. You know what happened in Pakistan recently. What happened in China in terms of flood. Devastating. What happened in our country some time back. So, everything is making life more complicated and complex. Keep it uncluttered as much as you can. Live as a happy person. With honesty, try to do whatever you can and accept that result, but learn from it. That's all I would say. Again, thank you for being a wonderful audience.
This was truly an invigorating session. It was a wonderful opportunity to hear your vision and experience, which will undoubtedly motivate us to work relentlessly towards our goals and achieve greater heights. I now request Dr. Arup Kumar Mitra to present our esteemed speaker, Mr. Amitabh, with a small token of appreciation.
I would like to thank all the support staff here in the auditorium making this program successful, and special mention to my young friends of EDC. Yes, EDC is doing something which is little different from other societies in this college, and we are trying to promote entrepreneurship within. As I say, charity begins at home, and let it be with invention, intervention, and ultimately that will lead to patent and collaboration. So thank you one and all for being here. Thank you, sir, for coming here and sharing your experience.